Hey, welcome back to 10 pages a day, or improvised number of pages we decide, virtual book club. We are still working on The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Let me get that without a glare. By Vishen Lakhiani. Book jacket. I do have the book though, don't worry. We are working on chapter 2, pages 19. And I've decided to cut off at page 28 before we get into the 5 ways we take on rules. Let's talk about rules, because I just used a word you've probably never heard before. Rules, according to Vishen, it's a word he made up, meaning bull rules. I can't curse on YouTube. The BS rules. Just a real quick, I figured I would talk about this. You're probably thinking, my God, child, it's summertime. Why are you wearing a sweater? We keep it a very chilly 70 degrees in my apartment because my partner gets very cold. He does not like to be very hot. So I'm bundled up in the apartment here, doing these videos for you. Getting back to the topic at hand, rules. Rules, in his definition, are a BS rule that we adopt to simplify our understanding of the world. We use rules to categorize things, processes, and even people, and they are handed down by our tribe, often our family, culture, and educational system. We talked about earlier in the culturescape and physical reality, so the world of absolute truth and the world of relative truth, and how we live as humans in those two worlds. And in the culturescape, all the ideas that we hold dear, our identity, our religion, our nationality, our beliefs about the world, are nothing more than mental constructs we've chosen to believe. That's a quote from the book. So the rules are these constructs that we've chosen to believe. And I mean, at some point, it was probably an unconscious choice, but the point is that we have the ability to change that choice, to say, that doesn't work for me, and change it. Like, again, with the relative truth, it's not true for all human beings. It doesn't have to be true for you. That's something you can change. But what happens in our culture, as he says here, these rules are tightly bound to ideas of what is good and bad, right and wrong. So they're like, they got a grip, right? They got a grip on us. It's not just like, carry along, I'm done with you. Sometimes, but for the most part, these are things that are ingrained in us from when we are babies, when we are little babies. The way that we are shaped, and we'll get into that, I think we're going to keep going and get into that. So he also wants to emphasize, or he does emphasize, that there's nothing wrong with taking on ideas from the society we live in. But as our world is undergoing exponential change at a staggering pace, following the masses and doing what's always been done isn't a path that leads to being extraordinary. I mean, it may not sound like the kind of thing that you want to hear. It may not be happy to hear it, but it's true. I mean, it's just true. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing it one way, but if you want something more, you got to do more, right? So he gets into this area of the questioning and dissection of rules to take a step into the extraordinary. And even like this simple question or simple exercise of taking a moment, he writes, take a moment and think about the religion or cultural norms that were transmitted to you. How many would you say are truly rational? They may be outmoded or proven untrue by today's thinkers or researchers. They may even cause terrible pain. And he goes in again to say, and I would agree with this, he's not advocating that you instantly reject all of the rules you've ever followed. Like, bye, Felicia, just all of them gone in a day. That's not how it works. But in order to play bigger, you must question your rules constantly in order to live by the code that is most authentic to you. To you. And I really truly believe that when you start, this is me, when you start releasing the shoulds and all those layers that I talked about in a previous video, that you come to, and in the last video, I said, self-love was like a thing that just like really gets me at the core, because when you remove all the layers of the shoulds and you can become authentically who you are and you live a life that is in alignment with who you are, I think the greater self-love that you have, it ripples out into your relationships with other people, your relationships and how you interact with the world. It's like that, I don't believe any acts of violence or hatred have ever come from a place of true love. Like I can't think of one ever that stemmed from true love. It's often from some sort of self-loathing, some sort of outmoded belief, maybe about like original sin. Okay, and I say that, let me back off that religious tack because that would probably piss some people off. But the kinds of things that cause a person to hate themselves, that's where I think acts of destruction and violence and hatred, I think that's where that comes from, not from true love. And love starts at home, in this person right here, in yourself, in your own heart, in your own soul, in your own mind. That's where love starts. So that kind of requires, in order to strip away those shoulds and be who you are, questioning those things that no longer serve you and moving on so that you can cultivate love inside. Getting back to what he talks about in these pages, he goes over common rules worth challenging, and he tells a little bit of an anecdote for each of the ones that he challenged, which were the college rule, the loyalty to our culture rule, the religion rule, and the hard work rule. I happen to have to say his second one is we should marry within our religion or ethnicity. And my experience hasn't been the same, but kind of a rule about relationships, right? I've been in my relationship with my partner for 8 years. And when he and I started dating, we had this conversation about doing our relationship on our own terms. We were young when we started dating and just out of college, so, 21, 22. And, well, yeah, somewhere around there, I think 23. And we knew, the questions of when are you getting married? When are you guys having kids? Blah, blah, blah. That's somebody else's timeline. That's not our timeline. And that's okay with us. But the cultural paradigm is that you guys have been together for 8 years and you're not married yet. Somebody's got an issue with commitment. All right, calm down. Calm down. This is our relationship. We're doing this on our terms. But I have to be honest, there was a point in time where that crept in for me, and I was like, why aren't we getting married? Like, what are we doing? When I took a step back, I know what we're doing. I know what relationship he and I have. We have a beautiful relationship. We have a relationship that I think rivals some of the marriages that I know, being close to them. We have beautiful and excellent communication that we fought for, which is funny to say, like we fought to communicate, but that was a true tenet and a cornerstone of our relationship. So we worked on that. And we've really grown our relationship. So 8 years in, whether we're married or not, we have the relationship that's in alignment with us. And we're always working towards having a relationship that's in alignment with the two of us, regardless of what everyone else has to say about it. And that's just it. But when you think about like that, there's always an outside influence. Another one he talks about is we must work hard to be successful. He says it may start as a worthy idea and morph into a tyrannical rule. Parents want to encourage their kids to stick with challenges, work towards goals, and not give up. But that can get twisted into a rule. If you aren't working hard all the time, you're lazy and you won't be successful. And I'm, as a coach and working towards this business, working to look at other things when I was, going to jump into something else, and seeing that there are people who are making incredibly good life living, an incredibly good living, and living a lifestyle that they want, not working 60 hours a week, not seeing their families or watching their kids grow up. So it was like, well, how does that happen? Like, how is somebody doing that? How is that possible? But it is possible. And there's a quote in here I really like from Lawrence Pearsall Jaques, who writes, "A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he is doing and leaves others to determine whether he is working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both." And in this section, Vishen, he just really encourages people to, to understand it's not going to happen overnight, but it's doable. To find something that this is my wording, but that lights you on fire, that makes you excited to work, because then it won't be work. It'll be a challenge, a mission, a game, just something incredible that you can do. And he says, and I like this, another way, therefore always seek work that you love. Any other way of living misses the point of life itself. And I think that that's a hard thing to say, because a lot of people are living inside of that paradigm, and it can be painful to hear somebody say that, and I think the pain comes from, because I know it did for me, the pain came from knowing it was true and not knowing how to do it. So when somebody said it to me, there was like an anger reaction that came from that. It was like, well, screw you. Like, how dare you tell me that's possible? But really, it was my pain point of, yeah, I want that, and I don't know how to make that happen. It's not possible. That was the paradigm I was living under. It's not possible to have that life. So if that comes up for you, if anger comes up for you, okay, I'd be willing to, I want to encourage you to be willing to see that as something else, and let that be a motivator. If whatever you're doing right now isn't working for you in any form or area of your life, okay, you can change that. That's the thing. You can do it. And that is where I'll leave you for today. Leave your comments below or on my Facebook page, Denise McKinney Coaching on Facebook, and I will see you tomorrow.